Time now for News Extra on KNEB. It's brought to you by Intralinks. Here's Kevin Mooney.
Thank you, Dennis, and good morning, everyone. And we're happy to have on News Extra Paul Reisig and Becky Zitterkopf. They're both with the Scottsbluff Rural Fire Department. Paul is the Assistant Fire Chief. Becky is the Fire Prevention Officer, and we're going to be talking to her about things you need to be doing around the house to prevent fires. But we're going to talk to Paul initially here about fire prevention and still looking on the outside and grass fires and what you need to do during harvest in this pretty dry situation still, right, Paul?
Yeah, it's really been a busy year for fire departments, Kevin, and I just want to come on and remind fellow farmers and hunters and others that are going to be out in the wildlands this year, be careful out there. It's very dry, the driest we've seen in a long time. For the farmers, I especially want to advise them, if they're not carrying a fire extinguisher on a combine, get that fire extinguisher on there. Get them on combines, tractors, trucks, whatever, if you can. In fact, it doesn't hurt to have two fire extinguishers on the combine, one in the cab, one on the outside. Come in very handy. We certainly hope we don't see anything like this, but fires in cornfields are not that uncommon in harvest. Be advised that hunters, farmers as well, when you drive that pickup up to the combine to refuel it, or the hunters are out in the woods there, the wildlands, that catalytic converter on these modern pickups is very, very hot. If it comes in contact with dry grasses, dry corn stalks, dry bean straw, things like that, you've got a real potential to get a field fire going quick and lose a pickup while you're at it. So be sure you're aware of where you park those things, what you're doing with them. For the farmers, keep that combine clean if you can. Get the chaff and debris off of it daily if you're able to. And at the same time, I advise all the farmers out there, if you can, get a tractor and a tillage implement, either a disc or a field cultivator or something, nearby where you're working, half a mile away or something. If you do have that fire break out, you may have to disc a fire line.
And a lot of them won't want to necessarily do that because they're looking at disking up maybe part of their harvest, but it might be better than disking up, having the whole field just go down in fire, right?
That's very true. At the great expense they'd have today, the corn is a good price. They've got to think about it, but it's a serious thought. But at the same time, disking that 20-foot swath or whatever to get that fire stopped may be a cheaper alternative than to losing the entire field in the combine.
Yeah, all right. So still kind of dangerous out there. I know you guys have had such a busy fire season. I listened to Gearing Fire Chief Jay Templer's report at the Gearing Council meeting the other night, and boy, the places they have gone, and you have done the same thing this year, right?
Yeah, that's very true. We've had a lot of calls this year. We're up every bit of 1/3 or more on our fire call numbers, and it's been a really busy year. We've been rather lucky in our area, but at the same time, we've had some fires, and we've been on a lot of mutual aids, a lot of departments farther away and around us. So just want everybody to be aware. It's dry out there. It really is.
All right. So a lot of them mutual aid calls. You've spent a lot of money, but fortunately for your fire department anyway, you still have some money left, right?
That's true. We're still able to operate, and of course we want to try to keep it as safe we can for that reason too. These fires cost a lot of money. They cost a lot of money of the people that are involved in them, their equipment, their homes, their grassland, whatever. That's all an expense. It's a great expense for these fire departments right now with fuel around $4 a gallon. You put those machines out there and they're using a lot of fuel to get those fires out.
Supposedly the governor and maybe even the feds are going to help you out a little bit if you're on a federal fire. Say an Incident Command Management Team number 3 fire, maybe especially the one up in Crawford and that Chadron area, you might get some help. Otherwise, you kind of wait for the Nebraska Emergency Management Agency to help you out a little bit with some of the governor's disaster fund money, and that's going to take a little while to get to you, isn't it?
Yeah, that's all true. It kind of straps everybody because even though we do get the help back occasionally or later, you still have a time delay in there that you still have to keep that fire department operating, even in the fact that you might be operating in the red or something. So far we haven't been that way, but we know other fire departments that have really been hammered this year and saw their operating funds almost disappear entirely.
Yeah, guy in Ainsworth had to take out a personal loan at a that helped help those folks out with fuel and stuff, and he's waiting to get reimbursed. But until then, he had to take out a personal loan. So anyway, that's another reason to kind of make sure you play it safe out there. All right, we'll talk to Becky right after this break.
Is your wireless computer network secure? With 30 years of professional service, you can trust
I realize the camera's on.
solutions to keep your system.
Don't be telling her now. It's see, it's such a. We were trying to like.
No,
make
you're
sure.
under days watching.
That's right.
I'm always watching.
That's right. All right, we're back on News Extra, and we're really happy today to have Paul Reisig and Becky Zitterkopf from the Scottsbluff Rural Fire Department. We've been talking about how you really need to play it safe in the harvest with Paul here, and make sure you have fire extinguishers on your combines and make sure that's available to keep the cornfield fires from occurring. Now we're going to talk to Becky about fire prevention around the house, and fire prevention is kind of a year-round thing, isn't it, Becky, around the house?
Yes, it's something that we should be looking out for every single day. Just some common things that we do around the house, such as cooking on your stove, just making sure that there's no towels or paper towels or anything else around the stove that could catch fire. Also watching your kids, making sure that they are not reaching for things on the stove or in the oven so that they don't get burnt. Other things are your toaster when you're cooking, just making sure it's not underneath the cabinet, because that could heat up the cupboards and make them too hot. Toaster ovens also get very hot around the outside. It's a good idea to watch when you're cooking with oil, just making sure that it doesn't overheat, because that's pretty common to catch on fire. It's a great idea to have a fire extinguisher in the kitchen or nearby in case something does happen.
Okay, yeah, those are a number of good things, and I'm kind of thinking what the situation is at our house, so we may be changing a few things up after what you just said. But okay, so how many people do you think have a fire extinguisher right there in the kitchen? Not very many, I'll bet, huh?
Not very many, and if they do, it might not have been checked lately. It could be expired. It's a great idea to make sure you know how to use it as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. So a lot of people probably don't know how to use it because they've never had to do it, and when you have to use it, it's not a good time to start learning, is it?
No, it's not.
So maybe a little practice would help you out. The other thing we wanted to talk about around the house is outside, and making sure that outside, especially if you're in a rural area, that you've got your landscape and so forth fireproof, right?
Yeah, it's a great idea to make sure that there's not a lot of dead trees or limbs hanging around your house. It's great to trim those back. Also the grass and any area surrounding your house, it's great to keep that watered and nice and green, just to prevent anything from being able to spread towards your house.
Yeah, I think there were some people that learned that lesson probably this year in a number of locations out in the rural areas, and probably saved themselves having the house burned down because they were good about what was going on outside, right? So anyway, how many presentations do you do, real quickly? How many do you do around the area?
We just had a fire prevention camp at the YMCA camp this summer. We're going to do on October 13th. Kmart is having a fire prevention day, so you can come out and learn about more tips and things to prevent anything around the house from catching fire. Then we also are planning on having one in Terrytown for kids, just to learn how to prevent any fires around the house.
All right, so you guys are going around the community doing a good job letting people know. We appreciate it. All right, very good. Thanks you guys for stopping by, Paul, Becky, and once again, if you're on a combine this fall and you're harvesting, probably need to get a fire extinguisher on that combine. Maybe one in the cab and one outside. That'd be a good idea. All right, back to you, Ben.